Good morning. I'm Linda Sturgis and I've been in the finance world for the last 34 years. At present, I'm completing my Masters in Tech Futures and my area of research is on how can we use the advances in technology to help millennials meet their financial goals. I've chosen millennials for two main reasons. The government is unlikely to be able to support your generation in retirement the way they currently do. And two, time is on your side. Small changes now can have a pronounced effect on your financial future position. COVID-19 is a once-in-a-100-year event and the negative impact on our economy will be experienced by all. So today I want to share some of my top tips for millennials to managing your finances in these challenging times. I'm going to run through a 10-minute presentation, then stay on the line for the next 30 minutes to answer any questions or feedback you may have. One thing I do want to cover off before we start is this is about giving you ideas how you can look at your personal finances in extreme times. This is not personalised advice as I don't know you and I don't know your situation, so I'm not going to try and sell you anything. I do want to leave a legacy to an industry that has supported me over my career and to a generation that has time to make small changes now that will make their future brighter. I will do this by writing a white paper for the financial community that serve you. Your feedback will ensure that that white paper is addressed to the areas of advice that is most beneficial to you. So my top tips for now are review your budget. This is more important than ever. A budget is simply the income you receive and the bills you need to pay. If you haven't done a budget before, there's an easy guide on how to get started and a good calculator on the Sorted website. Looking at your bank account will give you all the information you need to start. Holding on to your income stream is important in times of crisis, so if you are voluntarily considering change, make sure you consider where your next paycheck is going to come from and the stability of that employment. For your expenses, review each item and work out what's really important to you and then trim out the excesses. Looking back on your spending patterns will help you understand how much you're spending in different categories and where you can make changes just by being aware. This is about taking back control. I call it mindful spending. Use technology solutions to make the process easier. To track your expenses and help you stick to your budget, there is some technology out there such as Pocketsmith, Henry for the gig workers, and the banks have good expense trackers. A simple spreadsheet may be all you need, and when I've interviewed some of your peers, it would appear that you are good at having a budget. Whether it's informal or formal, now is a good time to look at it again. Your emergency fund. As a guide, this should be between 3 to 6 months of your salary and helps you in times when you have no steady income. Your expenses only reduce by about 70% when you're not working. I know this is good to say in hindsight, but if you have stable employment, start putting this money aside now. Create a separate savings account that you cannot touch. Savings is hard, but if you start small, get into the habit, you'll be pleased you have. But if you don't have employment and you do have an emergency fund, it's okay to use it now. This is your rainy day fund and it is raining. Have a good look at your short-term debt, things like credit cards, finance company loans, anything with a high interest rate, and pay it down as fast as you can. If that's not possible, talk to your bank about consolidating your debts into a personal loan at a lower interest rate or the possibility of adding it to your borrowings in a flexi facility so that when you start earning again you can pay it off without penalty. So my top tips for your medium-term goals. If you have student debt, continue to pay your debt down at the minimum contribution, as zero interest is good debt. You do still want to keep decreasing the loan balance, especially if you're looking to buy a home in the future. Your student loan debt will be reviewed when the bank is looking at your ability to repay a mortgage. Which brings me to getting your foot on the property ladder. If your medium-term goal is to save for your own home, transfer the funds out of your transactional account on payday to by automatic payment so that the funds are not there for you to spend. Some people refer to this as pay yourself first. My top tips for your long-term goals are stick to your KiwiSaver plan. This is your long-term plan. This is for your retirement, so do not adjust your risk profile. If you are feeling really nervous about your exposure to the share market, go to your KiwiSaver provider's website and do the short questionnaire that ascertains your risk profile. If you do decide to change your risk profile, make sure you get some advice. As millennials, you have a long time to ride out the current volatility in the market. The carve out to this is your first home buyers. If you are considering using your KiwiSaver to help buy your first home, then you need to think about when you're going to be needing the funds. Rough rule of thumb is if you need a 5-year plus time horizon to ride out the rises and falls in the share market. The second part of your KiwiSaver is your contributions. Do not adjust your contributions unless you have to. When the share market falls, this means you're buying units in your KiwiSaver at a cheaper price. This is like buying something on sale, which in turn will mean that as the share market recovers, you will have more money invested in that market. Let me walk you through an oversimplified example. If your contribution was $100 a week prior to COVID-19 and your unit price was $1, you'd get 100 units of exposure to the share market. Then the share market falls and your next contribution of $100 buys you units at 85 cents. You would receive 117 units. Yes, the value of the original units has fallen to $85. But when the share market recovers and the unit price is at $1.10, your 217 units will be worth $227. Time is on your side to ride out the short-term corrections in the market. Mortgage. There's a lot of talk about going on a mortgage holiday or interest only. Do not do this unless you have to. The amount that you owe on the loan will increase during the mortgage holiday. Interest will still be charged on what you owe, and this is added to the loan amount, where it will also increase the interest charges. Because of this, it's likely that the total costs will increase over the life of the loan. Keep making your mortgage payments if you can, so that your interest costs are minimised. With interest only, this is still kicking the can down the road, but to a lesser extent. So I thought I'd finish this session with my research question. So if anyone has any questions or feedback, I'd be delighted to receive it. So my research question is, how might we make financial advice using emerging disruptive technology more inspiring and engaging for millennials in order that they take action to meet their current, medium and long-term financial goals? So to summarise, don't panic, take back some control by reviewing your budget, considering emergency fund, and stick to your plan with your KiwiSaver. I'll finish with a quote from Tom Hartman, the managing editor at the Commission for Financial Capability. One fine day, we may realise that the lockdown did bring a gift of sorts. It was the catalyst to help recast our patterns before lifestyle inflation creeps in again. Take advantage of the lockdown disruption to design lasting change so your new normal, whatever that may be, becomes more fulfilling than the old normal ever was. Thank you for your interest, and please do not hesitate to contact me by email or direct message me on Instagram. I'll email out a flyer with some key points from this webinar and the links I've referred to. Also, if you'd like a copy of the white paper, please contact me. I'll stay on the line for your questions now.